This is the instructional how-to video for the Antron concession. I'm going to go over the functions, operations of your concession, as well as the shutdown procedures. You can see the exterior lights on, concession window open, flip-up counter set in place. Exterior outlet. Removable railing for the sides and rear of the trailer. Exterior lighting. This is the waste drain valve. 3-inch RV waste drain valve. Pull that lever after you hook up your hose to this port here, and you'll see the contents that will flow out. Once that is complete, you can shut that valve, be able to remove the hose, put the cap back on in place. Go ahead and let the contents drain out. City water fill box. This is for filling the freshwater tank itself. Non-pressure side. So you fill the freshwater tank here with your food grade water hose and use the water pump. Or you can bypass the pump and tank, as I have done, and do the pressurized water line. As you can see, keeping the tank empty, it's bypassing the tank and the pump itself. Once I get done with this video, I'll winterize the trailer to get all the water out of the pressurized side due to the cold weather. Same thing for the wastewater, make sure it's always empty at nighttime for cold weather itself. Access door gives you access to your 100 amp electric panel and all 20 amp independent circuits. Battery charger for the 12 volt lighting system and water pump and your 12 volt battery. Water heater here. Plugged into the outlet. Before I plugged it in, I made sure I had continuous water flow going out of the faucets on the hot water side. Water pump, water filter. You got your drain valve for the freshwater tank itself. Winterization valve for blowing out the system, and then your drain valve itself. So normally these would be in the off position, which all these, and this would be in the on position during normal operations itself. When you're ready to drain the tank, you would drain the tank by doing so. Once that's done, you would shut that valve off, shut this valve off, hook up your air hose to this fitting, and open this valve for winterization purposes itself. Once that is complete, you will open all the valves to leave the open position so that no water can be in the trailer whatsoever. We'll go ahead and turn that back off, as I will be winterizing this trailer here momentarily. Your tank is empty, however I do have a live tank here for demonstrational purposes. Pull station for the pull station for the fire suppression itself. Control switch for the exhaust fan. fire suppression control head. Due to the limitation of parts, that's why we now have the control head pull station located here. Used to, we would have this part connected to the control head, but now it is separate due to supply shortages. Interior and exterior light switch is located here. You see your pilot lights in the operational position. You will use lighters like this for lighting purposes. All of these remain in the off position for lighting, and you will apply your fire to each one of these pilot lights as you see located here. Once you have your pilot lights lit, you can turn the burners to the on position for functional purposes. Now you will see that there is metal wire that holds these burner plates in place for transit. There's no need to remove that, but due to excessive heat, eventually that wire, as you can see how hot it is, it will eventually break. So make sure you replace with more baling wire. That's what that is, baling wire, that you can get at any local hardware store to be able to secure those burners to the frame of the unit itself. Drip pan for any spillover or spillage pan. Now for the oven itself, same thing, it stays in the off position. There is no lighter needed for it. This is the eye hole that you will be able to see the pilot itself, like you see. And how do you light this is you press and hold this button in place. While holding here, you have to administer, that is your flame, like your grill lighter. Once you can see a steady pilot burning through this, you have to hold this button for generally 10 seconds more. Then you can slowly release to make sure that pilot is good and hot, as you see located here. Once that is good to go, then you can shut this door itself. For demonstrational video, I go ahead and turn it up so you can see the burner actually working. Now you have one rack and 5 different slots. I'll come to the fryer here in just a moment. I'm going to go ahead and go with the griddle. Same thing for the griddle. These stay in the off position as you see indicated here. And you will administer fire, your lighter, to right below at this flexible line where it turns up. And that is your pilot that you see lit here on both sides. Because propane is heavy, it is naturally falling out of that pilot light. So all you have to do is have the lighter right below it and it will be able to connect and light. Once you can see that you have a steady flame on your pilot, then you can turn your burners to the operating position that you desire, which will get you the heat that you need. Do make sure that when you are done and ready to be finished using the griddle, you do turn that off to the off position. Spillage pan for any contents, waste contents will go into this pan. You'll need to check it daily. I will show you how the fryer operates, turn it off, and explain how to light the fryer itself. As you can see, the thermal pile is lit. It is in the on position. It takes 2 hands to light a fryer. That's why I always do this video this certain way. So how I start is this is going to be in the off position. And I always start with turning this on and off twice, listening for this thermostat to connect with the gas valve, making the clicking noise. At that point, then I can rotate to where the L meets the red dot here as indicated. and be able to push in. As long as you can push in and hold and administer your fire to your thermopile. Once your thermopile is lit, you'll continue to hold this pilot button in place for 10 to 15 seconds. Once you can slowly release this pilot button and keep a good steady flame here, then you can rotate to the on position, and when ready to do so, operate your thermostat to the desired temp for cooking purposes. Do make sure that you turn this off, as well as your thermopile, your gas valve itself, turn to the off position each day as well. There is a drain valve that threads into here and allows you to open up and drain the contents from the fryer before transport each and every time. That is going to be found in this paperwork located here, as well as the legs for the fryer and the 4-burner stove. You'll also find paperwork for this 4-burner stove, the griddle, the fire suppression, and the deep fryer in its own packet itself. Do take the time to read over the paperwork. Make sure that you properly maintain and clean the equipment as needed. As mentioned before, I had continuous flow of water before I ever turned the water heater on. We're at 115 and still climbing. Water pump switch located right below the hand sink also. Not needed to be on, as you'll see it's in the off position located here when you are pressurized water. Do not operate any of the gas equipment without the hood fan on. It is always needed. I do want to mention the gas itself. So before you would ever light the equipment, you would come in and make sure all the burner control knobs are in the off position. Turn your exhaust fan on. Concession window needs to be open. You will open the valve on the tank itself. Of course, there's air blowing out of this one here. There's no more now. So you would open this valve, as I have done, located on this tank, and that's going to pressurize this line itself. When you turn this gas valve that quarter turn, because it's going to be naturally in this position for the off position, when you open this valve here, you're going to listen through this regulator. You should hear the line charge itself, which is nothing more than shh. If you have continuous gas flow coming through this regulator at time of startup, you immediately need to shut this valve off. At that point, you will need to contact a local gas company to come out and inspect the piping, as it runs below the trailer and hugs the frame of the trailer. Again, if you hear, when you turn this gas valve on, if you hear gas flow coming through here, that tells you there's a leak in the piping below the trailer. There should never be anything more than the line charge, which is pressurizing. That's it. Again, immediately shut off if you have continuous gas flow coming through at the initial startup. Gas is highly, highly dangerous, very flammable, and actually explosive. Since we have the gas off at the line itself, we can talk about the fire suppression tank. The other point to always having the exhaust fan on, it's kind of a couple parts. One, propane, obviously the smell. Any exhaust fumes would be sucked out of the exhaust vent. If the hood fan's not on, you take a potential for carbon monoxide poisoning, which can kill you, and or there is heat sensors behind those filters that If those heat sensors pop, everything in that tank is going to come emitting out of those nozzles and shut your business down for a couple of weeks. At that point, it's going to cost you about $2,000 to clean up, and it is very corrosive on your appliances. So again, for safety purposes, before you ever turn the propane on, hood fan needs to be on. Regardless of how cold it is outside, you always need to have the hood fan on when you're operating this propane equipment. There's never an excuse for safety. Also, periodically, and that might be daily or every other day, these filters need to be removed for cleaning purposes. Simply slide up and pull out, as you see here. They do slide back in place, but you want to clean those with a hot water and a mild soap or mild degreaser. Rinse and allow adequate time for them to air dry. What grease doesn't collect in the filters hits the drip tray, it comes down to the drip cup. It needs to be monitored daily as well. As far as your AC and heat unit, you've got low heat, and then you've got your high cool rotating around. As far as heat itself, it is if everything's closed and everything's off, you can get it nice and warm in here, but there is no reason to run this unit when this exhaust fan is on, as it is plenty powerful enough to suck everything out. The system for the fire suppression is live and ready to go. However, you will need to have your local fire marshal as well as a fire suppression company come out and tag and certify the system before you ever go into usage or a business. At the end of each day, making sure that everything is in a safe manner for transit, always. Make sure any electrical items that are plugged in or countertop items are unplugged. Make sure that the AC and heat unit is off, as well as the exhaust fan. Obviously propane before the exhaust fan goes off. And then your lighting itself, making sure that you turn it off. You never need to leave the propane on when your business is closed or in transit. That is very unsafe. You also want to make sure that you shut the gate valve for the wastewater, remove the hose and put the cap back in place, as well as removing the pressurized water or turning the water off itself. As far as your wheels and tires, you need to always check the lug nuts before any time in transit. Always make sure that you have the correct air pressure in the tires. Once a year, at one time a year, you will need to remove this rubber grease. It's a rubber cap for the grease zerk fitting behind here to apply grease to the bearings, so you have long-lasting bearing life. And for the railing, always make sure that these pins are in place for safety purposes in transit. As always, make sure that all of your running lights, brake lights, turn signals are always functioning properly. For shutdown of the window, it is simple press up, and that will go back to a fixed position. It's the same thing in reverse for it to be set up also. Well, it is key to get those in sequence, lifting up in the middle, as you've seen what just happened there. Always make sure this door is closed, nice and secured and locked for transit itself. We thank you for taking the time to view this video. Make these videos to be able to show the customer their product before they come in or before the unit is delivered. If you do have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We want to help make sure that this is a safe venture for you. We thank you so much for your business and wish you the very best.